We're going to talk about the Olyroos at the AFC Under-23 Cup. What are the 5 things that we learned? Overall, I thought we had a really solid campaign. Group stage looked very good. 2-0 win against Kuwait. The 1-1 draw against Iraq. And of course, that controversial red card. Not the only controversial red card. Third game ended 1-0 to Australia over Jordan. Another red card. Heading into the quarterfinals, relatively easy 1-0 win against Turkmenistan. And then the semi-final is where it all sort of fell apart. And we went down 2-0 to Saudi Arabia, another controversial red card. And then the third place game, just rubbed salt into the wounds. A 3-0 loss. 5 things that Australia learnt from the AFC Under-23 Asian Cup. Number 1 for me is super simple. Australia's future is bright. We saw plenty of promising players, really perform well at this cup, and a level of togetherness that I think that Trevor Morgan did well to, these guys don't play together that often. These guys playing around the world, across the A-League, all over the planet, basically. Trevor Morgan brings them into camp, gets them to gel together. And we saw from some of the goal celebrations, even just little things like that, goal celebrations. I'm really interested to see sort of, how these players are interacting. And you get the sense there's a really good vibe in the group. But overall, knowing that this is sort of the next generation of Socceroos. I know there's been a lot of, talk about, we're sort of struggling at the moment in terms of the quality of national team players. I think there's a lot of players in that current squad who have the potential to, not just be playing at, for the senior national team, at club level, to be playing at a really high level. There's plenty of potential there. So many players. The future is bright. The second point is that Asian teams are improving, and well and truly they are improving. Well, I don't know if I'd say improving, but it was just, I guess, a bit of a reality check at times. We were really challenged. For much of the group stage, I thought we had it under control, only conceded 1 goal. Looking pretty good. But, Turkmenistan, as I mentioned earlier, made it difficult for Australia in that game. Defended really well. It took a second half goal to break down that defense. And when you looked at the games against Saudi Arabia, Japan, sort of two of the, the bigger names in Asian football, I think at the end of the day, they well and truly outclassed us. There's a clear, we can't just assume that Australia are going to be, going into these tournaments, winning these tournaments, favourites to win these tournaments. We're not. We're one of the challenges. I would say maybe just behind now. It goes to show that there is a clear, I don't want to say there's a massive gap, but there is a margin, a level between Australia and maybe just those top teams at the Asian level. The third point is the A-League is still a great environment for young players to develop. And I truly believe this, man. And, we think just this past season in the A-League, there's been a number of fantastic young players developing and, stepping up on the big stage. And many of those players got a call up to this Olyroos squad. I don't know off the top of my head how many of this squad was playing their football in A-League. It'd probably be roughly half, I imagine, right? But it just goes to show, it's a good place to play your football. We do see a number of young players, as they were in the squad, maybe jumping over to Europe, early as a teenager. But we're seeing, I think it just goes to show that the A-League, for all the crap that it cops, it is, I think, a good, healthy environment for young players to develop. And it's so exciting seeing those young guys tear it up at the A-League level and now doing it on an international stage at the Asian Cup. My fourth point, we need to adapt better. Specifically this Under-23s side, we need to learn how to adapt better in situations. And I brought this up because specifically when you look at our last 2 games, the semi-final against Saudi Arabia, the third place matchup against Japan. Against Saudi Arabia, we go down 1 goal and then we lose a man shortly after. Before that, I thought we were dominating the game, even though we were down. We had chances. We were shifting forward. We were playing, I think it was Alu Kawal and Cassini Yengi off the left. Those two were charging forward many times in that first half. Francois hit the woodwork in that first half as well. We were looking good. We conceded the goal, quick red card after that, and all of a sudden it's a completely different game. We just didn't have that mentality that it didn't look for a second that we were still in that game. It just felt so chaotic. It felt like that we sort of lost the plot after that red card. It was almost like because it happened for the third time this tournament, the players almost dropped their heads. And we saw a similar thing in the third place match against Japan, especially after that first goal. We would just look like we're on the back foot. Yes, I know we created some chances in the second half, but there was a sense of fear that, Japan were just getting in behind so easily. And it was a little bit worrying to see. We weren't able to adapt. We weren't able to fight back and stick with them, which is something we saw the Socceroos do lately against the UAE and Peru. We're able to match those sides. We're able to keep that spirit high, keep that mentality in a good place as well. Especially important for those young players, who are maybe still developing that sort of side of things, don't quite have that experience, you know what I mean? Fifth point, though, for me, and this is the fun one to talk about. There are some specific players, I think, that are ready for a senior team call-up. I don't want to say immediately, but maybe within the next 6 months to a year. Jay Rich-Bagaloo, the defender, what a beast. And he was really calm and composed on the ball. I thought he looked really good. Lewis Miller. I'm the biggest Lewis Miller fan. Of course, had a fantastic season at St. Coast Mariners. Now heading over to Scotland. I think he could be playing in the Socceroos. I don't know. I don't want to get ahead of myself and say he'd be ready for the World Cup. But within the next 12 months, for sure, he could easily slot in there. The other one is the man that captained the Under-23 side of this tournament, Tyrese Francois. I thought he was really, really impressive. He, at times in the competition, just steadied the pace for the side, controlled things in midfield. For much of the tournament, he was playing alongside Louis Dorigo. I thought they both developed a really nice partnership in defensive midfield there. Tyrese Francois plays his football at Fulham, who just got promoted to the Premier League. I'm not sure how much first-team football Francois is looking at this season. Potentially, maybe he could score a move out on loan. But very exciting to see Francois, who sort of reminds me of an old-school Ollie Bozanic back in the day when he was playing at the 2014 World Cup for the Socceroos. Sort of a player who's not the biggest in terms of physical stature, but very cool and calm on the ball, and the kind of player you want in midfield conducting the play. The final one I did want to bring up, though, is Alu Kowal. And I don't need to talk about that goal. We know about the scorpion kick. What a hit. We could talk about Alu Kowal. We could talk about Garang Kowal. But these guys, man, we would love to see them playing at the Socceroos, hopefully one day. And I think Alu, flying his trade over there in Germany, probably not too far away from the Socceroos call-up.